Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining me. Let's just get everything loaded up before we crack on. What a strange day. What a strange 12 hours this has been. 12, 13 hours. We all woke up this morning really not knowing what was going to happen, when the hostages were going to be released, if they were going to be released, because there was some confusion this morning as well. And just a very, very strange day how it unfolded. I think at one point many of us thought that actually the hostages would end up not being released. There was fallouts between Hamas and Israel. Hamas at one point stating that Israel were not holding their side of the bargain up, which then obviously caused mass confusion in Israel. Protests, there were some shots fired as well just outside the Offa prison. In fact, let me get over that strap that's at the top. And yeah, I mean, for a lot of the time this evening, I'm not really sure that anybody really understood exactly what was happening. Thankfully, the hostages are now back in Israel. Day 2 of hostages being exchanged for prisoners, and that's happened. But as we watch, protests and people celebrate the fact that the hostages returned today, you just can't take it. You just can't get away from the confusion that played out today. Anyway, let's take a minute and give me a second, and we'll take a look back to what's happened inside, over the last 12 hours. I think I need a brew first though, so hang on there. Thank you for your patience. Okay, so let's come off this camera for a second, and then we can have a look at Twitter and find out the latest. The latest news from Twitter. Inside the last half an hour, the Israeli Defense Force have been posting videos on there. But let's start with the Times of Israel and take a look at what they've been posting, as everyone tries to really catch the breath after just a crazy day, just an insane day really today. But we started the day really early trying to work out exactly how it was going to unfold. And bear with me. And no one knew, did they? No one knew. That's what we want to do, that one. Sorry, it's been one of those days today. Long old day. So apologies for the tired face. Okay, Times of Israel. Let's have a look. 13 Israeli, 4 foreign hostages freed from Gaza have arrived back in Israel. And the release moved ahead only after hours of delay. The group includes 8 Israeli children, 5 Israeli women, but mother of one of 3 children still remains in Gaza captivity, which is what they said wasn't going to happen. Part of the agreed deal, and we'll put it on the screen in a second, but part of it, when it was first announced, was that they said that no children and mother, children and father were going to be separated when they were released. So that's really surprising. I wonder if that was one of the sticking points that they were arguing about today. Asaf Harofa Hospital says it will treat the 4 foreign hostages released tonight. Freed hostage Maya Regev, 21, in stable condition. So it doesn't seem that, and no surprise that everybody was in particularly good health. So let's have a read. This is from the Times of Israel. You can read it. We'll stick a link in the chat as well. 13 Israelis, including 8 children, freed by Hamas after 50 days held hostage in Gaza on second day. I mean, it seems like it's been forever. It just feels like it's been, I mean, it has for the families, and for the, let me just look at the faces, for the kids and the mums and the dads and the grandmas and the granddads that have, being held captive. This has been a lifetime. On the second day of a 4-day truce deal, which they were saying this morning could possibly be extended if Hamas were willing to continue releasing hostages, which is what we're hoping for. But who knows? Who knows? Who knows? On the second day of the 4-day truce deal, 8 children, 4 mums, 1 young woman, handed over by Hamas following long, unnerving delay, which I think is a good way to summarize it. 4 Thai nationals also released, 195 hostages still held, which is just an incredible number. And you look at the faces there. The Israeli hostages released on November 25th, 2023. I won't try and pronounce the names because no doubt I won't do them justice, but I'll leave them there for a second so everyone can have a look. I mean, look how young some of these people are. Just amazing to see them back. And hopefully, the majority of them healthy and they can get back to the families. And it's the lasting damage, isn't it? It's the lasting damage that's going to be done to all these families. Following an hours-long nerve-wracking delay that threatened to scupper the Israeli-Hamas temporary truce agreement, 13 Israeli hostages held by Hamas in Gaza for the past 50 days. Wow, 50 days. Finally returned to Israel late Saturday after being abducted during the Palestinian terror group's horrific onslaught in southern Israel way back on October 7th. It's so long ago. The released Israelis on Saturday were 8 children, 4 mothers, and a young woman. Do you know the thing that baffled me today? Is when you see how long it's taken them to get from Hamas, so from Gaza to the Red Cross and then back into Israel, really short period of time. Really short period of time. Surely, I'm just speculating, but surely Israel must have an idea of where the rest of the hostages are. This is not like they're in, I wouldn't have thought some deep, dark depths of Gaza, because the time that it's taken to get these hostages back from, and yes, we know that Gaza is not a particularly big place. It's small, but they're still traveling quite quickly, from Gaza to Red Cross, Rafah crossing, Israel, very short period of time. The released Israelis on Saturday were 8 children, 4 mothers, and a young woman. Another 4 Thai nationals were also freed as part of a separate deal negotiated by Egypt, also with the involvement of Qatar and Iran, after initial reports that 7 were set to be freed. Now, among those released, many lost family members on October the 7th, and many have relatives still held hostage. Yahel Haran, 3, was released without her father, which is just incredible, who is still held. Hila Rotem, 13, was released without her mother, Rhea, also still a hostage. We need to look at this deal because I'm confident that part of the deal, it was agreed that Hamas wouldn't release children without the parents without the children. It would be together, a collective. It's not the case, though, is it? Emily Han, 9, another of those freed, returned to her family, who had initially been told she was killed on October the 7th. Some 195 hostages are still being held. Most of the Israeli hostages released Saturday were from kibbutz, which is one of the hardest hit communities last month when thousands of terrorists from Gaza invaded southern Israel and killed some 1,200 people, a majority of them civilians in their homes and at an outdoor music festival, and took around 240 hostages. And it says took about 240 hostages because we're still not 100% confident of the actual number, are we? But that's the reported number. Look at that photo. Emily Han, second from right, reunites with her father, Tom, while Hila Rotem, second from left, whose mother is still held hostage. I mean, how must she be feeling? Reunites with family members in the early hours of November the 26th, 2023. Wow. Everyone needs that as their screenshot. Everyone, needs to take that photo as their screenshot. Some 100 people were killed in kibbutz, and about 50 were taken hostage from there that day. The 13 freed Israeli hostages were part of the second group of hostages to be released by Hamas following intense talks mediated by Qatar, Egypt, and the United States as part of a 4-day truce deal that would pause fighting in Gaza in exchange for freeing a total of 50 Israeli hostages overall in groups of roughly a dozen per day by Monday. But again, there is reports that Israel have said they're willing to extend the truce as long as Hamas keep releasing hostages. The deal went into effect with a pause in fighting Friday at 7 a.m., followed by the release of the first group of 13 Israeli hostages on Friday afternoon after 49 days in Gaza. On Saturdays, the next group of hostages was set for release. Hamas delayed the transfer for hours before relenting following reported intense pressure by Qatar, Egypt, and the US. US President Joe Biden phoned Qatar Emir Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani and urged him to act to overcome the Hamas delay in the implementation of the hostage deal. An official familiar with the matter told the Times of Israel on Saturday, soon after Qatar confirmed the release would move ahead. It did look at one point whether or not it was just Hamas posturing or whether or not it was actually really on the brink of possibly not happening. It was a problem. Qatar Foreign Ministry spokesman Majid Al-Ansari said in a later statement that Doha hopes that the momentum built over the past 2 days of the truce will lead to its extension past Monday and to advance negotiations towards a longer-term ceasefire, which mixed messages from Israel. On one hand, they're saying they might be willing, or reportedly saying they might be willing to extend the truce as long as more hostages are released. On the other hand, you've got Benjamin Netanyahu, who's saying, we'll carry on, we'll continue. This is not something that's going to be prolonged for a long period of time. We've got further goals. Main goal is get the hostages out of Gaza, but then we've got further goals, eliminating Hamas as a relevant and active threat. At one stage, they said eliminating Hamas, but can you eliminate an ideology? No, you can't, even though I think the IDF said earlier that they could, but who knows? You can't really see how that's going to happen. Israel received a list of hostages slated for release Saturday. On Friday night, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office said after reviewing the list, Israel security officials notified hostages' families. The Prime Minister's office said both those who are and are not on the latest list. The second group again included 13 Israelis, more of them children than on Friday, when only 4 children were released among the 240 initial abductees. Terror factions took about 40 children overall, including babies and toddlers. Israel has demanded the release of children and their mothers as a priority in the current deal. The 13 released Israel hostages on Saturday are, and then again, if you want to read the names of the people that was released, then you can always have a look at the Times of Israel website. Again, I'll put the link in the chat for you. The names: Hila Rotten, Emily Han, 9 years old. Wow. Noah Moore, 17, and Almaror, 13. Noam Avigdori, 12 years old, and her mother, Sharon, 52. They were along with some 10 members of their extended family were abducted from kibbutz. A number of family members killed that day. Noam appeared in a number of videos that circulated as part of the campaign to free the hostages. Shoshan Haran, 67 years old. Haran's daughter, Adi, 38. Her children, Yahel Shoham and Navia Shoham, 8 years old, also released on Saturday. Son-in-law, Tal Soham, remains a hostage. Shiri Weiss, 53, and her daughter, Noga Weiss, 18. And their father is presumed captive in Gaza. Members of their extended family, Ilan's brother and sister-in-law, Amir and Mati, were killed. Maya, 21 years old, Maya Rageb, was abducted alongside her brother Itai, 18, while trying to flee from the Nova Music Festival. We've all seen the videos on October the 7th, where terrorists killed some 360 people. Itai is presumed to remain in Gaza as a hostage. The freed hostages Saturday were taken by Red Cross ambulances from Gaza into Egypt, where they underwent initial medical checks. Some of them do still remain in hospital. They were then taken to the Karam Shalom crossing with Israel, and from there transferred to Israeli hospitals for treatment and further monitoring. Meanwhile, the Israeli Prison Service received a list of 39 Palestinian prisoners who are being released as part of the deal with Hamas. Okay. Bear with me 1 second. Thank you. Right, let's have a look at the Hamas, I'll say one of, because there's many of these, Hamas Telegram pages. There's quite a few out there. We'll have a look at this one and find out what's being posted on here today. Now, some of the videos we won't show. Some of them are always something that we're not really wanting to show on this channel. But we'll have a flick through them and see what these contain. Work his way backwards from the latest to, we'll go back an hour or so and make sure that we're checking in on the very latest. Post here. This is Israeli forces raided a house of Isri Jabis after her release. Again, we can't confirm that these reports are true, but they're there. They're on the Hamas-Israel war Telegram page. Just take them with a slight pinch of salt.
יישוב קו פה, יישוב קו. קצין, קצין. We're gonna fall. Just let us walk. קצין, אנחנו יורדים. אי אפשר לתת כולם ככה.
A lot of the videos tend not to show you a lot, but it just gives you a bit of a snapshot inside what's being posted. Again, no description on this one. Just as freedom. And of course, as part of the deal, there's an agreement. Hamas release hostages. The Israelis release the prisoners. And there's one on here. Jerusalem fires tear gas at people waiting for prisoners to be released. Again, we don't know if this is true. It's just on their Telegram page. And again, there was a post put on earlier that says the occupation is attacking with tear gas and live bullets anyone who tries to approach the Offer prison in the West Bank where prisoners will be released. We did see earlier, outside the prison, on one of the live streams, ambulances seemingly taking people away. And we did hear what we thought were gunshots as well. So again, possibly it is true. It's just very hard to confirm it. And this was the post when it was finally agreed for the hostages to be released from Hamas in response to the efforts of Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. The Islamic Resistance Movement Hamas finalized the release of Thai detainees in the Gaza Strip. So there's different agreements in place. For whatever reason, we need to look into really why, but there seems to be a different, in this case, Turkey's President Erdogan that's negotiating the release of Thai foreign nationals back to their country. I don't think that those numbers are being included in the list that gets given to Israel. And this was something that was widely discussed today regarding the amount of trucks of aid that was being allowed to enter Gaza by Israel. Hamas was saying that a part of the reason that their complaint as to why they were delaying things was because Israel weren't allowing enough aid trucks into Gaza. Israel is saying, well, we said they can come in, but it's not us that organise them. So they were initially saying, not our fault. And there you see there. So following on from, the arguments that happened this afternoon, that's why they further negotiated. They further had mediation. And then that's when they put the post out regarding Israel allowing another 100 trucks of aid to enter Gaza tonight in exchange for the continuation of the agreement. So the threat was that it wasn't going to continue tonight. And as part of the humanitarian ceasefire, we handed over 20 prisoners to the Red Cross, including 13 Israelis and 7 foreigners. protests for and against right across the world. This was just one of the videos that was put out on one of the Hamas Telegram channels as well. Demonstration in support of Palestine organised in Canada. That's such a strange photo. Egyptian sources report that Israel will allow 100 trucks to enter tonight, some of which will cross into the north of the Gaza Strip to restore the agreement. See, that's how it's so interesting to see how both sides are wording things when it comes to he did this and she did that, and look at that. Look at how that's been worded. Sources report that Israel will allow 100 trucks. Can't say trucks to enter tonight, some of which will cross the north of the Gaza Strip to restore the agreement. Restore the agreement. I mean, it's completely normal. We saw it with Ukraine and Russia. Both sides will put, will put wording out that favors them. Doesn't necessarily always have to be factually correct. And a post saying Tel Aviv Israeli citizens are calling on Netanyahu to resign. I'm sure some of them are. Upset and angry with what is happening. But who knows? Who knows if it's the minority or the majority? We just don't know, do we? We only see what we can see from the cameras, the reports that we see on social media, the videos. It's very difficult to get an inside view of what people's feelings are. And here you go. This is what I'm saying regarding the propaganda. You know the chances are that what this picture says is not true, but it just speaks volumes in terms of the war of words and the war of images, and it's all just propaganda. It says here, how Israel treats children versus how Hamas treats children, and the top image is of the IDF with a child, and the bottom one is a Hamas fighter cuddling a child. No mention, of course, of the hundreds of people that were killed in the attacks in October. But it's just an image, it's a snapshot inside the minds of how Hamas want people to view them. Look at that there. Egyptian mediators have convinced Hamas another 20 to 60 prisoners. I mean, I'm not sure where they got the number of 60 from. I'm not sure it was ever going to be anywhere near that high. But that's what they said. Egyptian mediators have convinced Hamas another 20 to 60 prisoners to be released tonight. Video in the West Bank, Jenin, clashes between the Mujahideen and Israeli forces continue. Always amazes me how numb people get to what's going on. You've got, you can hear the sound of bullets, and then you've just got people sat at the side of the street watching. Incredible, really. And there was reports on Twitter doing the rounds about Greta Thunberg. And there's a post here that says Greta Thunberg chants crosser. I'll do it in English. Crush Zionism. With the crowd at a pro-Palestinian rally in Stockholm. So this is Greta Thunberg, apparently. Looks like Greta. She gets everywhere. She gets everywhere. Spain has withdrawn its ambassador to Israel from Tel Aviv. Again, that was reported this morning. And we've gone right the way back to when Israel put the notice out. The threat, the warning, the promise, whichever way, whatever it really was, to Hamas. And it said here, the Israeli government announced that if Al-Qassam does not release the Group 2 hostages within 4 hours, the attack will continue. In 4 hours, the ceasefire could be broken. So again, that was Hamas pointing out that in 4 hours, the ceasefire could be broken, and it's because of Israel. And why? Well, it says here, Al-Qassam brigades decided to postpone the release of the second group of prisoners due to the failure of the occupation to comply with the terms of the agreement on the entry of aid trucks into the northern Gaza Strip and the failure to comply with the agreed standards. So you can see how it unfolded. That's right the way back to, I mean, it was a busy old day and plenty happened, but you can see there, that's back to when everything seemed to go wrong and everything stalled. And everyone wondered, is this going to happen today? Is this it? You know, have the talks broken down? Is the deal off? Thankfully not. Thankfully the hostages are now back in Israel. But you can see from what we've read there, right from the latest all the way back to when the deal was rocky, to say the least, exactly what happened and just how it unfolded. One moment, please. Okay, let's have a look at what the latest is on Twitter, see if there's anything interesting to wrap up the stream with. Only a short one tonight, just a quick look at the recap to find out exactly how today unfolded. We've talked about there was a deal, maybe there's not a deal, and then the deal was back on, and then finally the good news with the hostages being returned on day number 2 of the truce. So let's see what the latest is right now. Let's have a look, see if the IDF have posted anything this evening. There is one video that I want to show you, actually. Bear with me. Let's see if we can find this video. It was a post from the Israeli Defense Force just over an hour ago. It's very annoying. Let's try it another way, shall we? See if we can get this up. Let's see if it's on the Times of Israel page. Nothing wants to work tonight. Absolutely nothing wants to work.
That moment when you realize your life is about
See what happens now at this time of the night is we tend to lose all the streams that are available throughout the day, just for whatever reason tend to stop working at this time of the night. I don't know why. I think we're back in the game. Okay, let's see if we can find this video. There's just one video that I really want to show you that's If we can't find it on the Times of Israel page, we'll get it off the off Twitter. But I know it's on here somewhere. What a story that is. Released Emily Hannah, an Irish-Israeli girl whose family was initially told that she was killed. And wow. You just cannot imagine it, can you? Okay. Hopefully we've fixed that. We hope. We hope. We can't guarantee, but we hope. So latest then from the Israeli Defense Forces Twitter. This was an hour ago, just over an hour ago. Representatives from the ICRC, excuse me, just transferred 17 hostages via Egypt, including 13 Israeli and 4 Thai hostages to ISA and IDF Special Forces as they make their way to Israeli hospitals where they will be reunited with their families. We have been preparing to welcome our people home and accompany them and their families. We remain determined to return all of our hostages home. No sound with this video, I don't think, but you can see them making preparations for their return. I just think that's an incredible video. I just think that is just an incredible video. I mean, they've been away for so long. And you just can't imagine it, can you? You just can't imagine them, how they're feeling. Incredible. This was 3 hours ago, actually. An IDF fighter jet successfully intercepted a UAV approaching Israeli territory in the area of the Red Sea. Not seen any further details on that. But that video just you know, after a tough day, after a day where everything seemed to, at one point, look like it was going to go wrong, it's just quite nice to see that preparation for, you know, the return of the hostages. It's a nice image. And that's the thing. Well, people have got different and varied opinions, and all opinions are welcome. No opinions are right. No opinions are wrong. But, you know. Lots of people on Twitter saying, let the hostages talk. I think people have got to understand that. Let's remember, a lot of the hostages that are being released are not being released with the partners, they're not being released with the children. That's happened today. So there's going to be a time that people will talk. There's going to be a time where people will tell the truth. There's another post there that says, let the hostages talk, let's find out the truth. You're not going to get at this stage, while there's a war, while there's people fighting, while there's hostages that remain, you're not going to get people saying what they think. I will almost guarantee that any hostage that's released today will say how well they were treated, how respectful Hamas were to them. You've just got to... Let's wait. Leo Varadkar, the Irish Taoiseach, has put a post out. This is a day of enormous joy and relief for Emily Hand and her family. An innocent child who was lost has now been found and returned, and we breathe a massive sigh of relief. Our prayers have been answered. Post by Lex Jurgen. Hamas slow drip media release of the women and children they took hostages on October 7th is painful to watch. But if they were my kids, I too would be begging the government to negotiate with terrorists. So the update as it stands today, it says here, this is according to 7 Star Sins. Hamas hostage update. 240 hostages, 24 released on Friday, 17 released today, 199 still kidnapped. We have a long way to go, and supposedly only 2 days left of the truce. But this is a good post from Bob225. And this is the part that I don't understand. It says here, 50 Israeli hostages in exchange for 150 Palestinian prisoners. Not a good deal. And I agree with that. 50 Israeli hostages in exchange for 150 Palestinian prisoners. Not a good deal, he says. I think that's right. I think that's right. Yeah, I can't work that out. Some videos on the previous hostages that have been released.
עם משפחות החטופים, אנחנו יודעים שהייתה אמורה להיות הפסקת אש, היית אמור לשחרר את כולנו, התחייבת לשחרר את כולנו, ובמקום זה אנחנו נושאים במחדל הפוליטי, ביטחוני, צבאי, מדיני שלך, בגלל הפשלה הזאת שעשית ב7 לאוקטובר, בגלל שלא היה צבא שם, אף אחד לא הגיע, אף אחד לא שמר עלינו, ואנחנו אזרחים תמימים, אזרחים שמשלמים מיסים למדינת ישראל, נמצאים בשבי, בתנאים לא תנאים. אתה הורג אותנו, אתה תהרוג, אתה רוצה להרוג את כולנו, אתה רוצה עם צה"ל להרוג את כולנו, לא מספיק טבחת בכולם, לא מספיק אזרחים ישראלים נהרגו, שחרר אותנו עכשיו, שחרר את האזרחים שלהם, שחרר את האסירים שלהם, שחרר אותנו, שחרר את כולנו, תן לנו לחזור למשפחות שלנו עכשיו! 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 עכשיו!
Wow. Wow. Yeah, these are the sort of videos that we've seen released from Hamas now. After what happened with Lifshitz, the Israeli hostage that said shalom and shook the hand of Hamas fighter, all these people who've been media trained say only what benefits Israel, while Lifshitz was probably Israel's biggest media flop. Wow, look at that. Okay, and that's us up to date. So let's wrap things up tonight. And of course, another day, another potential pause tomorrow. Hopefully we're going to get some more hostages released tomorrow. That's what everyone wants. That's what we're praying happens. But today's been a weird day. Today's been a day of, confusion, ups and downs, not knowing what's happening from 1 minute to the next. And tomorrow could be the same. So let's see. We'll be back tomorrow with some more coverage. Sleep well. Thank you. Good night.